Everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be starting a new reading vlog, and this is going to be a book specific reading vlog, which I haven't done in a while, but I've been seeing this book literally everywhere. Like, this book has taken the internet by storm. Like, literally everywhere I look I see this book, and I just need to know what all the hype is about. So the book that I'm talking about is Fourth Wing. Let's just give a moment for the stunning stenciled edges. Like, look at the dragons. Not gonna lie, that's one of the reasons why I bought the physical copy, because I just needed to have these stenciled edges. I don't have any books with stenciled edges, and I had to have it because hello, stunning. And then on the inside, on like the end pages, there's a map, and then I think, no, there's nothing on the naked hardcover, but then there's also a map on, I think it's the same map, but there's a map on the other side, and it's just such a beautiful book because of this alone. Like, hello, stunning. But yes, I've been seeing this book everywhere, so has everybody else, and I need to know what the hype is about, because I kind of have FOMO, because the things I've been seeing about this book are kind of speaking to me, because it's a enemies to lovers romance that takes place in a dragon war college. Like, exactly, thank you. Like, that sounds perfect. Sounds like so fun. So I'm going to be reading Fourth Wing in this vlog, and as you can see by my bookmark that is flopping around all over the place, I have actually started it. I'm currently on chapter 8. Page 89, 18% in, and I'm honestly really enjoying it so far. The world building and everything isn't anything too crazy. Like, it's really easy for me to understand, and for, I think, non-fantasy readers in general to understand, because I don't really read that much fantasy. But I've been having a good time slowly immersing myself in this world, and everything that's happened so far is really interesting. The two love interests are honestly both stunning. Like, Dane is giving me the childhood friends to lovers that I am living for, because he's so protective and caring of Violet, and I love that. And then we have Xaden, who I don't really feel that much towards at the moment. He does have his like stunning little moments, but as of right now I'm not really vibing with him as the love interest, because I just love a good childhood friends to lovers, so I'm not really rooting for the enemies to lovers at the moment. Maybe that's gonna change, I don't know. There have been a few questionable things here and there. Like, there's this one line, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So Violet, the protagonist, says, "I'm more dangerous than you think." And then Xaden says, "So I see, I'm quaking in my boots." Like, what is that about? Like, when I read that line, I cringed so hard. Like, that was my first, like, ugh, maybe this isn't gonna be the most well written book. It's still too early to say anything, obviously, but yeah, my friend Megan did indeed finish the book, and I've been begging her to read it, and she finished it before me, but I don't want to talk about that. But she said that it was not very good, like, especially the writing, and I'm kind of starting to feel that a little bit, especially with that one sentence there, which was just like, why? And I think there might have been another like sentence somewhere that was just kind of silly. But I am still enjoying the story, and the war college setting is all really interesting, and I'm really interested and excited to see where the story goes, because as of right now not much has happened. It's still like the beginning stages of her being at the war college, so not much has happened yet, but really interested to see what eventually does happen. So yes, this is my first little update for this book. I'm going to read a little bit on my Kindle, because I have been reading this on my Kindle because it's just so much easier for me to read, and I've been really loving my Kindle lately. Like, love you so much. so I'm gonna keep reading on my Kindle. But yeah, so that is the first little update, and I will let you guys know once I have read a little bit more. So I have only read 2 more chapters of Fourth Wing, obviously, but I need to update the vlog because Dane is honestly starting to piss me off. So I had said at the beginning of the vlog that I was really loving how overprotective he is of Violet, but now I am not loving that as much because it's kind of getting to the point where like, okay, just you need to stop. It's getting too much. This is like the 3rd or 4th time that he's told her to get out of the writer's quadrant and move to the scribe's quadrant. And it got to the point where he even told the leader of the scribe quadrant about what was happening to Violet and how she was getting like attacked and like targeted. Like, why are you telling him this? Like, she made her decision and she made it so clear to you multiple times that she made her decision that she's going to stay here. Like, why can't you just accept the fact that she wants to be with the writers? But no, he can't do that because he like really cares about her or whatever. Oh, I can't lose you, boo-hoo. Like, stop. Like when he revealed at the end of chapter 9 to Violet that he had talked to Markham/Merkham, I don't remember his name, but the captain of the scribes. He told him everything that was going on with Violet. Like, what? Like, stop. And Violet was like, stop, I don't want to do this. But then she lies to him at the end and says that she is gonna think about it, which obviously she's not going to. She's not going to. But like, Dane is really pissing me off. And also the fact that Violet has been poisoning all the people that she's supposed to fight. Like, what do you think you're going to accomplish from this? Like, I know you don't want to die, but like, why are you poisoning every single one of your opponents? It looks suspicious that every single opponent that you have to fight you beat somehow, and they're like all sick. Like, what are you doing? Like, that was so ridiculous to me. And Xaden obviously caught on to that, and when one of her opponents got too sick before the fight, Xaden stepped into place and volunteered to fight her, and then they had a little fight scene. I guess it was like kind of, I don't know, they had some like moments there, I guess. Didn't really care, but when he gives her the nickname Violence, like, I know it's supposed to be like cute and like, oh, it like kind of goes with her name, Violet. Like, it just didn't really do anything for me. I just thought it was kind of silly. Like, it's not cute. It just kind of like cringy. To me, at least, like, the nickname Violence, like, like, no, it's just so stupid. Not really much else has happened so far. I'm at the 23% mark, only on chapter 10, still very much at the beginning, but like, yeah, those are my thoughts so far. Dane is pissing me off. Xaden, not really giving. Like, he's kind of hot, I guess. When Xaden and Violet are having their little fight scene and he like pins her down and she starts getting like hot and bothered from it, this guy's trying to kill you. Like, I know that you're like attracted to him because like, he's like kind of hot, but he's literally said that he's going to kill you, and you're like all flustered from being in close proximity to him. Also, why does her scalp tingle when he's in the room? Why does her scalp tingle when he's in the room? That prickle of ice along my scalp. What does that even mean? Like, what? Like, this, I think this is the second time that's been mentioned. That like her like scalp like tickles or like tingles or gets like cold when he is in the room. That's weird. Like, what? But yes, that's all I'm going to say for now. So I have a lot of updates to share. This is supposed to be a spoiler-free reading vlog, but that is not going to happen because I just have too many things that I need to talk about and they are like spoilery, and I need to talk about these things just because, you know, I have to share them. So, a lot of updates. First being, I still despise Dane, but even more than I did in the previous update, if that's even possible, because he is still trying to convince Violet to leave the writers. Like, just stop. I'm gonna go in order of what's happening in the book, so I'm gonna save my Dane rant for a little bit later. The writing is still, I don't even know how to describe it, but the writing is just so, like, cringy, I guess. Like, there's this one part where they're talking about, like, hooking up with people there, I guess, and Rhiannon says, I wouldn't care if it was like that. He's hot. He has that whole boy next door who can still kick your ass vibe going for him. I fight a smile because she's right. He so does. Like, what is that? And then there's this other part where it says, his eyes flare and I don't miss the hint of a smirk on that infuriatingly decadent mouth of his. It should be against the codex to look that good and be so ruthless. Like, it's just so, like, cringy to me. I don't know. I just, I don't like the writing at all. But one of the few saving graces is the friend group dynamic between Riddick, Rhiannon, and Violet. I love their dynamic. They're all so funny. I love a good friend group dynamic, and I'm really loving their dynamic. So it's one of the saving graces of the story so far for me. And also the representation is pretty good from what I've read so far. There have been a couple of, like, queer characters. Like, Rhiannon is bisexual, I believe, at least from what's been happening. And there is a non-binary character. And then Violet has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So there's chronic pain representation. And there's also deaf representation, which I wasn't expecting. There's a deaf character in this. I thought that was really nice because you never really see deaf characters in fantasy books or also just, like, books in general. So I really liked that. That was really surprising. Like, when it said that she was signing to this other person, I was like, oh my god. Love that. Xaden is also, like, hilarious. Like, I know I was hating on Xaden in the previous updates, but I'm starting to kind of like him because he's not pissing me off as much as Dane is. Like, Xaden's kind of funny. Like, there's this one part where they're, like, beating up Violet, and Tynan is like, you can't interfere. And then Xaden's like, no, but I can narrate. Which is, like, so funny. And also the fact that Violet has 2 dragons kind of slay girl boss moment. Like, I kind of like that, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I really liked that moment. And also one of her dragons, Taryn, is, like, so funny. Like, when she's saying his name to the person that's, like, taking names of everyone's dragons, she says his name and then he's like, pronunciation could use some work. And then she's like, hey, at least I remembered. And then he's like, at least I didn't let you fall to your death. Like, Taryn is just so funny. There have been so many funny quotes that Taryn says that I'm just living for. Like, he is so funny. And then there's this one part where Xaden and Dane kind of have, like, a face-to-face little showdown. And I was kind of, like, speechless because Xaden kind of gagged Dane. Because he's just saying all of these things about Violet and how she was very brave and, like, all of that stuff, like how she fought off 3 bigger cadets, blah 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 blah. And then Xaden is like, and even if I had, in regards to, like, cheating the system, he says, would you really level that accusation knowing it would have been what saved the woman you call your best friend? Like, he got his ass there. That was so good. And then he continues and says, and out of curiosity, would you have, let's say, bent those rules to save your precious little Violet in that field? And then Violet's like, that's unfair to ask. And then Xaden's like, I'm ordering you to answer, squad leader. And Dane says, no, I wouldn't have. You are useless. Like, Dane is so useless. Like, why is he here? Like, useless. And then Dane is like, it would have killed me to watch something happen to you, Vi, but the rules. And then she's like, it's alright. Like, who cares about the rules when she's your best friend? Like, no. And then Xaden says that Violet puts too much faith in him, and so true. And then we eventually find out that Xaden and Violet are tethered because of their dragons and how their dragons are bonded, I believe. So there's that. Also, I'm getting so sick of the phrase "my scalp tingled," "my scalp prickled," "my head tingles," "my head is prickling." Like, what? Why? What is wrong with your scalp to where every time this man is in the room it's like tingling and like prickling and like, do you have lice? I searched up in the ebook to see how many times that phrase appears, and it's like 5 or 6 times. And it's just getting out of hand at this point. Like, it's so... Every time that sentence comes up, I just have to laugh and like cringe a little bit, because what does that even mean? Like, tell me what that means, because I don't know. This is such a long-winded update, but then Dane kisses Violet, but she feels nothing from it. So I'm kind of like, okay, good for you, girl boss. I really like that little like twist, I guess, to where they're supposed to be like childhood friends to lovers, but she actually doesn't love him like that. I'm kind of vibing with that, and it's like, it's kind of funny because she later on says to, I think she says it to Ryan, or she says it in her head, I don't remember, but she says like that there's like no chemistry, and I was like that's kind of funny. Like, it's kind of embarrassing for him, but like, it's kind of funny. And then Violet proceeds to embarrass him later on because Dane wants to talk to her about what happened, about the kiss, and he's like, the kiss never should have happened, and she's like, right? And it doesn't mean we're not best friends. And he's like, the best of friends. And then he continues with this whole bullshit about the roles. Like, it's incredibly frowned upon to have a physical relationship with anyone in our chain of command, and you know how hard I worked to be a squad leader and all of that. And it's just like, you clearly don't care about her. All you care about is your position. So like, am I supposed to be rooting for you? Because I'm not. And then I just love the relationship that Violet has with her 2 dragons, because there's this part here where she wants to see the gold dragon Andarna, and Terrence says like, no, that's not gonna happen, because like, she can't really like fly or like fight or anything. And then she says, I never get to see her, I'm always stuck with your grumpy ass. And Andarna's like, I'm always here. And then Terrence like, this grumpy ass just caught you a dozen times, silver one. And then she's like, eventually you call me Violet, you know. And then Terrence says, I know, and I could call you Violence, like the wing leader. She's like, you wouldn't dare, you know how much that ass annoys me. And then Terrence like, annoys you? Is that what it's called when your like heartbeat races? Like, it's just so funny. And now I'm going to rant a little bit about Dane, because he is getting on my nerves. There's this part where he approaches Violet because he finds out that she can't keep her seat on her dragon, like she's always falling off, and he gets really mad at her for not telling her, and she's like, it's not a secret, everyone knows. He's like, all this time I thought that you had everything under control, blah 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 blah. Surely I would know if my best friend fell every fucking day that she flew. And she's like, it's not a secret, everyone knows, literally everybody knows, like, this isn't news. And he's like, you didn't tell me. As if like, boo-hoo, I don't care. And then later on he's like, I thought you would be fine if you survived threshing, but even bonded to the strongest of them. And then he says, I'm terrified you're not going to make it to graduation. You know exactly how I feel about you, whether or not I can do anything about it, and I'm terrified. And then Violet proceeds to say, this place cuts away the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. I repeat his words from this summer. Isn't that what you said to me? Is this who you really are at your core? Someone so enamored with rules that he doesn't know when to bend or break them for someone he cares about? Someone so focused on the least I'm capable of doing, he can't believe I can do so much more? But wait, she continues. Let's get one thing straight, Dane. The reason we'll never be anything more than friends isn't because of your rules. It's because you have no faith in me. Even now, when I've survived against all odds and bonded not just 1 dragon but 2, you still think I won't make it. So forgive me, but you're about to be some of the bullshit that this place cuts away from me. When she said that, my jaw literally dropped. I was like, there's no way she just said that to him. She just got his ass so good, and I loved every second of it because that is what he deserves. Like, you're not a good person, you're not a good friend, you have no faith in her, and he had to hear it. So I loved that part. And the final little update that I have for now is when Violet is sleeping in her dorm and she's getting attacked by like 6 different people, I think, and her dragon Andarna shows up, and the last like little section of this chapter had me like, my jaw dropped. It was like, I was like, what? There's no way, like, what? So Andarna yells at her to go, and then it says, I blink and realize the first year in front of me doesn't. She isn't breathing, isn't moving. No one is. Everyone in this room is frozen in place except me. Like, what? What is going on? Everyone had such little faith in this little golden dragon. But maybe this golden dragon has like Medusa abilities to like make people like freeze. Like, not turn into stone, but like to make them freeze in place? Maybe? I don't really know what's going on with that, but I'm really interested to learn more. So yes, I am at the 45% mark, and I'm honestly enjoying it for what it is. Is it like a groundbreaking fantasy? Is it a beautifully well written fantasy? No. But I'm having a good time, and that's all that matters, you know? So yes, that's my little update, or big update for now. So I am now on chapter 23, and a lot has happened. So when we last spoke, Violet had gotten attacked in her sleep, and Andarna, her golden dragon, helped her out by freezing time. So we find out that her dragon has the ability to stop time, but only in short periods, and she gave that power to Violet. So Violet technically has the ability to stop time, but she can't do it for too much or too long, because then it starts to like drain her and Andarna, if I'm understanding correctly. And we're also seeing the consequences of what happened when Violet got attacked. So there's only one person that survived that Violet had noticed, and she wasn't expecting this person to attack her like this. So they call like a meeting type thing, and they announce that Amber is the one that was there when Violet was getting attacked. So since attacking cadets in their sleep is illegal or like frowned upon on the codex, Amber has to pay for her actions. So it is revealed that Amber is the one that was there during this fight. And Dane being the person that he is, he does not believe her. He does not believe Violet when she says that it was Amber. He literally says, Amber would never, a wing leader would never get up there and tell everyone that he's lying, V. Like, how? You are a terrible person. You're a terrible friend. What are you? Like, and then she says, but he's not. And then he says, it's impossible. And she was like, I was there, Dane. And he gets upset about that. And then he's like, wing leaders are beyond reproach. Then why are you so quick to call our own wing leader a liar? And then Amber says, I have committed no such crime. And then Dane is like, see? Put a stop right now, Violet. She was with them in my room, I say simply. Shouting won't convince him. Nothing will. That's impossible. Let me see. And he wants to use his signet abilities to like read her memories just to make sure that she's not lying. Like, no. First of all, you should just believe her because she's saying that this happened because she was there and you weren't. But also he can't find out that she has the ability to stop time. So that can't happen. And then he like orders her, he's like, give me the memory. And then she's like, touch me without permission and you'll spend the rest of your life regretting it. And honestly, I love Violet and just how strong she is and how she's always standing up for herself, especially against Dane. Like, he needs to hear all of these things because he's not a good person. He's not a good friend. And I like that she's telling all these things to him. Like, it's just so satisfying. So they call this meeting and Dane is like, you can stop this all right now, Violet. You have to. I don't know what you saw last night, but it wasn't Amber. She cares too much about the rules to break them. Like, why are you protecting Amber instead of defending and believing your best friend? Hello? What? And then Amber is getting all upset. She's like, you're using this to get your revenge on my family, at Xaden, for not supporting your father's rebellion. And then it goes, Xaden doesn't even acknowledge it as he turns to the other wing leaders. He isn't demanding proof like Dane. He believes me, and he's ready to execute a wing leader on nothing more than my word. As surely as if they're a physical structure, I feel my defenses crack on Xaden's behalf. Like, Xaden was ready to kill you? In like the beginning of the story, he was ready to kill Violet because they have this beef because of their families or whatever. He was ready to kill her, but now he's defending her versus Dane, who's supposed to be her best friend, who's just standing on the sidelines like, oh no, this didn't happen, as if she wasn't there. Xaden has literally always been there for Violet, always believed in her, had faith in her, and Dane, what? Has been trying to get her to leave the writers and go to the scribes. Doesn't believe her when she's saying that, oh, this happened because I was there, I saw what happened. And like, I hate Dane so much. This is a Dane's hate account, because like, how can you call yourself her best friend when this is how you treat her? Like, no, absolutely not. I literally despise Dane with every fiber of my being. I take back everything I said in that first update when I said that I kind of like Dane, like childhood friends to lovers, no. And then they find her guilty, and it's kind of sad because when the rider dies, their dragon also dies, which like is honestly really sad because like the dragon didn't do anything, and it's really sad because when it does happen, Amber's like crying for her dragon, which is honestly really sad. Like, Amber, I don't care. I just care about the dragon. And then later on, they're training, and I guess Violet gets overwhelmed by Taryn's thoughts in her head. So Xaden tries to tell her to, like, you have to learn to block him out. And then Dane says, Wing Leader Ryerson, she's just not used to the bond yet. She'll learn how to block it out. And then Xaden says, you choose the oddest times to defend her, Atos. Xaden all but rolls his eyes as he looks at Dane, and the most convenient times not to. Like, Xaden has her back, and Dane just simply does not, and it's so funny to see everyone else around them noticing and acknowledging that too. And like, especially Xaden acknowledging that, and Violet too. It's just so entertaining, and like so good to see that everyone realizes how terrible Dane is. And then the reason that I wanted to do this update is because towards the end of chapter 22, Violet is in her room minding her business, like brushing her hair, I guess, when suddenly she starts feeling like really like weird and tingly and like flustered. This is so weird. So basically, since she is bonded, obviously, to her dragon, she feels everything the dragon feels. And I guess Taryn was doing things with Sigale, so Violet was feeling that too, and it was kind of pulling her towards Xaden. And I guess Xaden was kind of obviously feeling the same things because he's bonded to Sigale. So like the dragons are like having their little sexy time, I guess. And they're both like feeling this. And when she's feeling all of these emotions inside of her and she's trying to like find someone to like explain this to, she runs into Liam, who is her new bodyguard. And Liam is like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, he's so confused, like, what is going on? But then says, but he's not who you really want. He's not Xaden. And then he goes to find Xaden, and he's outside, like, smoking something. And I guess he's also feeling these things. He says, oh, Violence, you're going to have to learn to shield against Tyrion, or his escapades with Sigale will drive you mad or into someone's bed. So Xaden starts to teach her how to block them out, and she successfully does it on like the first try, I guess. And Xaden is like, you are astonishing. I couldn't do that for weeks. And then she says, guess I have a superior teacher. And then he starts like touching her face and getting all intimate. And then he says, damn it, touching you was a bad idea. And she says, the worst. And then he says, kissing you would be a cataclysmic mistake. Calamitous, she says. And then I think he says, we'll both regret it. Naturally, I whisper. And then I think Xaden says, fuck it. And then they start making out, and then Xaden suddenly cuts it off and he's like, you have to go. And she's like, why? And then he says, because I can't. And I refuse to act on desire that isn't yours. So you have to walk back up those steps now. And she says, but I want. And then he cuts her off and says, this isn't your want. That's the fucking problem. And I can't leave you out here on your own, so just have a little mercy on me and go. Like, oh my god, that scene was pretty good, but it's also very confusing because like the dragons were, and then they were because of the dragons. It was very weird. Like, I don't know, but when Xaden stopped it and realized that this wasn't what either of them actually wants, but it actually is what Violet wants, like deep down, but he doesn't know that's what Violet wants, so he just thinks that's because of the dragons, like all of that. I was like, okay, I kind of liked that, but yes, that is up to where I left off. So things are happening, it's getting very interesting. I'm just still not vibing with the writing, and I'm just trying to look past it and get over it, but there's just been so many like little sentences here and there that are just like so cringy, and it's kind of like 2010s-ish writing. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's just so many sentences. Would you pretty please teach me how to shield before I accidentally climb you like a tree and we both wake up with regrets? Like, it's just random little sentences like that are just like so cringy to me, so I'm just trying to look past them and just to be here for the vibes, because the plot, I'm not really that invested. The characters, I like the characters except for Dane, and I love the dragons, and I'm just trying to focus on those elements and just ignore the cringy, corny, like 2010s writing. So I'm on chapter 28, and that's where I'm going to stop for tonight, but I just wanted to give one last final update before I went to sleep. So Dane has kind of apologized to Violet for not trusting her. Like, he says, I didn't believe you, and that part is on me. I should have believed you, but I couldn't reconcile the woman I knew with what you were saying, and you didn't come find me after the attack either. I had to hear about it in formation, Vi. Regardless of the fight we had on the fight field, you're still you to me. And my best friend had been viciously attacked, nearly killed, and you didn't say a single word about it. This is like the second or third time that he's said, like, oh, you didn't tell me, as if she has any reason to tell him about anything that's going on. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like that he feels like he owes this, or like deserves this information from her in a way, because this is like the second or third time that he's been upset about her not saying things to him. But maybe she didn't want to say those things to you because maybe she thought that you're going to react any certain way, which is proved like whenever he does react in a certain way to the things that happen. And like, that pisses me off so much. And then she's like, you didn't ask. You reached for my head like you were entitled to my memory after blatantly telling me you didn't believe me, and you demanded I show you. And then he's like, I didn't ask. And she's like, you didn't ask. And after being told countless times that I'm not tough enough for this place, not strong enough, well, what happened on the flight field was a long time coming between you and me. The worst part is that I knew you wouldn't believe me. It's why I almost didn't tell Xaden who it was, because I was sure he wouldn't believe me either. Like, exactly, like, she isn't saying these things to him because she doesn't think that he's going to believe her. So, like, why does he like, why does he get upset when she doesn't tell him anything? It's because she doesn't think that you're gonna believe her. And then Dane says, you trust him more than you trust me. And she's like, that's not it. I have to trust him, Dane. Not with everything, of course. Neither of us can do anything about Sigale and Taryn being mated. But trust me, neither of us likes the situation. But we have to figure out a way through it. We don't have a choice. Like, again, he's also getting upset about the fact that they're always, like, working together. And the fact that she trusts Xaden more than him. But, like, Xaden has given her all of the reasons to trust him because he's always been there for her and always been defending her, and Dane hasn't. So, like, why are you upset that she's been spending more time with Xaden? It's because you're not a good person, so she doesn't want to spend time with you. I love this quote that Violet tells Dane. She says, I know you just want to keep me safe, Dane, but keeping me safe is keeping me from growing too. When you told me that this place strips everything away from you to reveal what's underneath, I was afraid. What if underneath the brittle bones and frail ligaments there was just more weakness? Only this time I wouldn't be able to blame my body. And then Dane says, you've never been weak to me. And then she says, don't you get it? It doesn't matter what you think. It only matters what I think. And you were right. But the Rider's Quadrant stripped away the fear and even the anger about being thrown into this quadrant and revealed who I really am. At my core, Dane, I'm a rider. Taryn knew it, and Darna knew it, it's why they chose me. And until you can stop looking for ways to keep me in a glass cage, we aren't going to get past this no matter how many years of friendship we have between us. Exactly that right there. I've really been loving how Violet has been standing up for herself and realizing that what Dane has been doing to her and how he's been treating her is just not right. And she keeps telling it to him and giving it back to him and just telling him what he needs to hear, and I am living for that because fuck Dane, and the fact that it's like being acknowledged in the book is just like so good for me. And just that last part right there where she says like, I'm a rider and until you can stop looking for ways to keep me in that glass cage, we're not gonna get past this. Like, it's exactly that. Like, they're not gonna be able to move on and continue this friendship unless he realizes how strong she is and how she has chosen to do this and is going to keep choosing to do this, and how whatever he says isn't going to change her mind. Like, he just has to accept the fact that she is now a writer and that she's going to continue going this route, and he just has to accept it. Like, there's no other solution. And then Violet says, you only want to keep me safe. I appreciate that, but it stops now, Dane. Xaden is tied to me because of Sigale, nothing more. I do not need protection, and if I do, I've got two badass dragons who have my back. Can you respect that? And then he like grabs her face and is like, alright Vi, how can I argue with someone who has two dragons, or like something like that. Like, I don't trust you. Dane is giving me so many bad vibes and it's just not ending. So yes, that's gonna be very interesting to see what happens, because I feel like Dane is going to turn into a villain perhaps. Like, he's giving me very bad vibes. Like, I don't trust him at all. And I kind of want him to die, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And then they eventually get stationed to do some like battle type things. I honestly don't know what's happening with the plot because like I'm not really paying attention to that. I'm just kind of like trying to do this as fast as possible because I just want it to be over. But yeah, they're like stationed off somewhere, and Violet reunites with Mira, which was really cute. And Mira and Violet both work together to help Ryan visit her family, which I thought was really cute too. And when Violet is talking to Mira about if she's been stationed with any mated pairs, and she's asking like how long they can be separated for, Xaden appears from the shadows and says, turns out about 3 days is their max. Like, that appearance from Xaden was kind of stunning. Like, I kind of really liked that. And since Xaden and Violet are bonded because their dragons are also bonded, they can communicate with each other through their minds, or at least Xaden can talk to Violet through her mind, like the way that she can like communicate with her dragons just like in their mind. Xaden can do that with her too, which is kind of crazy. And I wonder if she's eventually going to learn how to talk back to him in her mind, or like in his mind also, or like in their minds also, because that's really interesting. The fact that like their like bonded pairness goes deeper than just it being between the dragons, and now it's like between them also. Like that's really interesting. And then Dane and Xaden obviously get into another like face off, and Dane is obviously upset about the fact that they're like bonded pairs or whatever, and Xaden says, "You're more than aware that Sigale and Taryn are mated." And then Dane fires back and says, 3 days? You couldn't make it 3 days? And she's like, it has nothing to do with him. That's up to Taryn and Sigale. And then Xaden, in his mind, says to Violet, like in her mind, "You never considered that it was you I couldn't stay away from?" And then he says, now, you'll give our little communication secret away if you can't keep from being so violent. Which I think I kind of like that part. And then Dane, because he can't help himself, he says, "Of course you rushed to defend him. Though how can you forget that this guy wanted to kill you 6 months ago is beyond me." Like, yeah, that is a true fact. But it's also a true fact that you just have not been there for Violet. You've been trying to get her to leave the Riders. But Xaden has been here and helping her and defending her and training her and everything. Like, that argument doesn't work. And then Xaden says, "Good job remaining professional, Atos. Really shows those leadership qualities to their best advantage." Like, Xaden is just so funny. And then Mira pulls Violet, Dane, and Xaden aside to talk to all of them. And Mira just gives it to Dane. Like, she... like, it's so good. She says, "Shut up. I don't know what bug has crawled up your ass, Dane Atos, but have you forgotten that you're a squad leader? That you have a very real chance of becoming a wing leader next year?" And then he's like, "Mira," and she's like, "Lieutenant Soaringale, you're blowing it, Dane. I know how badly you want his job next year. Don't forget that we've grown up about 10 feet apart, and you are blowing it. Because what? You're pissed that Violet bonded his dragon's mate?" And then Dane, being the little baby that he is, he's like, "He's the worst possible thing for her." And then Mira says, "Oh, I'm not arguing that, but there's nothing anyone can do about the choices of dragons. They don't bother with the opinions of mere humans, do they? But whatever is going on between the two of you is fucking up your squad. If I can see it after 4 days with you, then they sure as hell can tell. If I'd known that you were going to be such a hard ass with zero flexibility for the things she can't control, I never would have told her to find you after crossing the parapet." Like, I, again, am just living for how much Dane hate is going on right now and how everyone's acknowledging the fact that Dane has not been a good person towards Violet. Like, I am loving that. And then things get kind of intense. There's like griffins and things coming to attack the little place that they're at. Again, I don't know what's going on with the plot. But Mira is obviously going to help everyone out, and Violet wants to stay, but she very much cannot do that because she's still a first year and she's gonna be putting everyone in her like squad at risk. So she really wants to go, and she's like trying to convince Xaden to let her go, but he's like holding on to her and saying like, "No, you can't go." And then Xaden says, "Leave for me, Violet." And then once the dragons arrive, she's like, "I will hate you for this." And he says, "Yeah, I can live with that." Like, I don't know, I'm kind of starting to like Xaden like a lot because I don't like Dane. So I'm really enjoying Xaden's like banter and like his flirtiness and just how funny he is. Like, he's honestly hilarious. So I'm really enjoying Xaden a lot, which is very surprising to me, but like, he's kind of a real one for being there for Violet through everything. So how can I not like him? We'll see if that changes. I'm very interested to see if that does change. But yeah, that's it for now. I don't know if these updates have been making any sort of sense. I'm not really paying attention to the plot anymore at this point, honestly. I'm just kind of like here for the vibes and kind of here for the characters, and that's kind of all I care about at this point because I don't want to use too much brain power to try to understand the plot. So I am now on chapter 31 and a lot has happened. So we learn a little bit more about Xaden's feelings towards Violet, which I really enjoyed because they're having a little discussion about, I don't remember what, but Violet asks him what changed, when exactly did you decide not to ruin me? And Xaden says, "Maybe it was when I saw Orin holding a knife to your throat. Or maybe it was when I realized the bruises on your neck were fingerprints and wanted to kill them all over again just so I could do it slowly. Maybe it was the first time I recklessly kissed you, or when I realized I'm fucked because I can't stop thinking about doing more than just kissing you. Does it even matter when, as long as it changed between us? And he says that last part in like their heads, and then she's like, don't do that. He's like, don't do what? Tell you I can't get you out of my head or speak directly into yours. And then she says, either. And then he says, you can learn to do it too. That scene was kind of stunning. Like his little confession about how he kind of cares about her now. That was kind of stunning. And as we know, Violet has been having trouble keeping her seat on Taryn. And you know what Xaden does? He gets her a saddle to wear when she's riding Taryn. And he also got her knives. I forgot to mention this in one of the previous updates, but he also got her a knife that like fits perfectly in her hands, and so that like no one can see it, you know? Like he gets a knife specially made for her. And also a saddle because she's always falling off of her seat. Why is Xaden honestly a better person than Dane? Because look at everything that he's doing for her. And Dane, he can't say the same. And Violet does get upset about the fact that he got her a saddle, and she says that she can't use it, it's not allowed. And then Taryn says, I decide what's allowed and what's not. There is no rule that says a dragon cannot modify their seat to serve their rider. You have worked just as hard, if not harder, than every rider in this quadrant. Just because your body is built differently than the others doesn't mean you don't deserve to keep your seat. It takes more than a few strips of leather and a pommel to define a rider. Like, everyone has her back, including her dragons, and I am honestly living for that. It is so nice to see. I just love the dynamic that she has with her dragons. It's just so fun. And things are starting to get intense. There's like this battle scene and things are getting intense. And then there's this one quote that I really liked. It says, wrath and fury boil my blood as my eyes lock onto the figure on top of that tower. This is the last time this asshole will come after my friends or me. In reference, in regards to Jack. And Jack finally dies. Thank God. I have been waiting for this to happen because he is not a good person. Why did it take him this long to be eliminated? It took a little longer than I would have liked, but it was honestly so satisfying because when it does happen, Violet's signet power is revealed and she can wield lightning. Like, okay, Azula? Okay, she can wield lightning. And like that little scene where like it's revealed that she can wield lightning and it's revealed because she ends up killing Jack with it. Like, we love to see it. And then probably my least favorite trope slash like thing in fantasy books is main character regrets killing someone who deserves to be killed, because after she kills Jack, she can't stop thinking about the fact that she killed him and that this is the first person that she has killed, and she's like, why did I do that? Blah, 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 blah. She's regretting it. And I'm like, girl, like, he had it coming. Like, why do you feel bad about the fact that he is now gone? Like, it's just so... like, I know you're supposed to like feel bad when someone dies, but like in a fantasy book, these people deserve it. And in this case, Jack deserved it like 30 chapters ago. It's just kind of frustrating seeing Jack finally getting what he deserved after everything that he does to Violet. And all Violet can think about is how she feels bad that she killed him. Like, she should be happy that he's dead because he can't threaten her life anymore. But because she doesn't want to kill anyone, like pacifist or whatever, she feels bad about it. And she's also upset about the fact that her power is something that is deadly. Like, all these other people have powers that can be used for helping people in a not violent way, but she has lightning wielding power, which is inherently violent. And she's upset about that too. And then Dane's like, you don't have to use your power. And Xaden's like, stop fucking coddling her. She is not a child. She's a full-grown woman, a rider. Start treating her like one and at least have the decency to give her the truth. You think Melgren or any other general, to include her own mother, is going to let her sit on a power like this? It's not like she can hide it, not the way she just demolished one of the practice forts. And then Dane's like, you just want her to be like you, a cold-blooded killer. Soon you'll be telling her that's all right, you get used to the killing. And Xaden says, The blood in my veins is as warm as yours, Atos, and if it's my job you want next year, then you'd better start understanding that you never get used to killing, but you do understand that it's necessary. This isn't primary school, this is war, and you heard me say it once before, but the ugly truth those not on the front lines choose to forget is there are always body bags in war. I get that Dana's trying to comfort her and make her feel better after she's been freaking out about this new discovery, but also be realistic, like saying, oh, you just don't use your power. No, that's not how this works. And then Xaden is always there to spit facts and be the only realistic person in this situation. Another part that I really liked is Xaden saying, you've never been like any other writer, probably because you never wanted to be here. And then Violet says, none of you wanted to be here, you're all doing just fine. But then he looks at Violet and says, most of us would burn this place to the ground if we had the option, but every marked one wants to be here because it's our only path for survival. It's not the same for you. You wanted a quiet life full of books and facts. You wanted to record the battles and not be in them. There's nothing wrong with you. You get to be angry that you killed a man today. You get to be angry that a man tried to kill your friend. You get to feel however you want within these walls, but not outside them. And I really liked that part too, because Xaden is like being realistic and saying it's okay to feel these things, but you also have to realize the fact that this is the way that things work. I just really liked that he's trying to comfort her and doing it in a way that actually makes sense, unlike Dane, who's like, oh, just don't use your power. And Xaden says, so do whatever you need to get it out. You want to yell? Yell at me. You want to hit something? Hit me. I can take it. And then he whispers, come on, show me what you've got. And then she kisses him, and then they have sex. And it was actually a pretty well-written sex scene, I would say. There were some questionable things here and there, like some just like weird sentences, but it was honestly probably one of the most well-written parts of this book so far. Like just the way that their emotions were described and all of their feelings towards each other. I really liked how they were described. I thought that it was actually really good. And now currently Violet is training with Professor Carr to learn to get her powers under control so that she doesn't set things on fire when they're not supposed to be. So she's training, getting her powers under control, and that's pretty much where I left off. Don't really have anything else to say besides all of that.
Do you think there's any chance we just happened to end up in the middle of a wyvern attack at that outpost? That definitely wasn't an accident, little sister, he says from the doorway. I sigh and move to the side, watching Violet's eyes widen as she sees him standing in the doorway. Told you I knew better poison masters, I tell her softly. You weren't healed, you were mended. Brennan? She stares at her brother in open-mouthed shock. Brennan just grins and opens his arms. Welcome to the revolution, Violet.
The end. This is Rebecca Soler. We hope you have
What? Why do I want to read the second part? Okay, so I just finished Fourth Wing. Let's start from the beginning of my previous, or the end of my previous update. So this is gonna be the last time that I talk about how bad the writing is, because there's just this one quote that Megan had showed me in her Goodreads review, and I was like, that can't be real, but it is very much real. So it says, and we'd have all the time in the world to figure it out if you'd stop acting like such an emotional chicken shit and just admit that you're going to fall for me too if we keep this up. Emotional chicken shit? Really? Is this 2010? Like, what is going on? Like, maybe my friend Megan was right when she said that Rebecca had this locked in the vault for like 13 years and she wrote this in 2010 and just released it now, because the writing is very much giving 2010, but not in a good way. And then there was this one part that I really liked that Violet said. Violet has just so many good moments. Like, she's kind of iconic. But I think Xaden, in this part, Xaden and Violet were arguing about them being in love with each other but not being able to do anything about it because of their positions in the wing lead storm sky. Their position in the ranking of, like, you know, everything. So Violet says, You don't get to dictate how I feel. You might give the orders out there, but not in here. You don't get to tell me we can fuck, but I can't fall for you. That's not fair. You can only respect what I choose to do, so we're not doing this again until I want to risk my heart. And if I fall, then that's my problem, not yours. You're not responsible for my choices. Like, exactly. I really liked that quote. Violet just has so many good moments. And there's another amazing moment showing just how real Xaden is, because here it says, Xaden's done more than save me. He believed me when I told him Amber led the unbondeds to my room. He had an entire arsenal of daggers crafted just for me. He designed a saddle for Taryn so I can ride into battle with my peers. He protected me when I needed and taught me to defend myself so I wouldn't require protection forever. And when others are quick to stand in front of me, Xaden always stands at my side, trusting me to hold my own. Like, that's what I've been saying this entire time. Like, Xaden has been the only one that's been truly there for her. And then I love Liam so much. The way that he's protecting Violet is just, like, I know Xaden ordered Liam to protect her, but they just started bonding. They have such a cute little, like, friendship. And they're at this party. I don't remember the context of this party. I'm so sorry, but they're at a party and Liam is kind of uncomfortable. He doesn't want to be there because of things from his past. Violet gets upset about the fact that he has to be there because Xaden is making him follow her everywhere she goes. So she's upset about the fact that he has to be here at a party that he doesn't want to be at. And Liam says that Xaden didn't make him come. He never asked this of me. Never asked it of anyone. But I told him I would keep you safe, and that's what I'm doing, keeping you safe. And Violet says, you're a good friend. And then Liam says, you saved my life, Violet. The least I can do is grin and bear it through a fucking party. Like, I just love all of these friendships that she's been forming with everyone there. I find it just so sweet and so good to see that she's not always being hunted by everyone, that she's actually forming, like, genuine connections and friendships. And then of course we have Dane being the annoying piece of garbage that he is. So I think Xaden's taking Violet to, like, this, like, battle thing that's happening. I honestly couldn't tell you anything that's happening with this plot. I'm so sorry. But they're going to this, like, battle thing, and Xaden says that he's going to be taking Violet, and then Dane's like, the fuck you are. She's a first year, and Athbean is beyond the wards. And then Xaden says, I don't hear you giving me the same argument about Mary, which is Liam. And then Dane's like, Liam is the best cadet, blah 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 blah. And Xaden's like, Sorengale wields lightning. And not that I owe you an explanation, second year, because I don't, but Sigale and Taryn can't be separated for longer than a few days. And then Dane's like, that you know of? Or can you honestly tell me Sigale was at her wits' end when you show up at Monster Night? You've never fully tested how long they can be apart. And then Xaden's like, I feel like asking her yourself, and Sigale, like, growls at Dane. Love the dragons so much. And since Dane always feels like being a little petty, Dane says, has this been your plan all along, to separate her from her squad so you can use her to get your need for revenge on her mother? Violet's like, you know that's not gonna happen. And he's like, do I? He's made a big deal of the whole if she dies, I die thing, but do you know it for a fact? Do you know Taryn won't survive your death, or has it all been a ploy to earn your trust, Violet? I'm not gonna lie, he might have made some points there. Maybe. But I still don't like Dane. That's not gonna change the fact that I don't like him, but in this context, he was kind of making some sense for the first time in his life. And then Xaden says, please, do quit while you're behind 8 toes. You want the truth? She's a fuck of a lot safer with me beyond the wards than she is with you within them. We both know it. Yeah. And then when they do get to this place that I don't remember what it is or what they're doing there, Xaden already knew what was happening, what was going on. He was in on it, and so was Liam and literally everyone else except for Violet. Like, Xaden, I was rooting for you, and now you're gonna go and keep secrets from her? I mean, I guess I know why you did it, you had your reasons, but I don't like the fact that he kept secrets from her. And then things start getting intense. There's, like, wyverns and venom and all of that. Everyone's, like, dying. Liam ends up dying, and I'm still so upset about it because his death scene was so sad. The way that Xaden and Violet were taking care of him, it was just so sad. Like, there's this one quote where Violet says, thank you, Liam. Thank you for being my shadow. Thank you for being my friend. And then Liam says, it's been my honor. I can't believe he died. That's, like, one of the only deaths I think that I've been upset about because Liam was just so good, so nice, so sweet, and then he just dies. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then Taryn ends up getting injured, so Violet ends up getting injured too. She gets stabbed with poison. She's like in and out of consciousness. She loses her connection with her dragons and with Xaden. And just so many things happen in that last chapter. I can't even remember what most of it was. But I did really like that very last chapter. We saw it from Xaden's point of view, which makes sense because Violet's unconscious. But we got the last chapter from Xaden's point of view. And just the way that he describes Violet and the moments that he realized that he was in love with her and all the things that happened between them. I really enjoyed seeing that perspective. And then that very last sentence of the book where Brennan, Violet's dead brother, or supposed to be dead brother, says, "Welcome to the revolution." What? I am so upset about the fact that I want to read the sequel because I did not have the best time with this first book. I had a good time, like emotions wise, but was it a good time like writing and plot wise? Not necessarily. I really enjoyed the characters. That's pretty much all I cared about for this book because I wasn't really invested in the plot or the world building or any of that. So I was just here for the characters and the vibes, and it did deliver. But there's supposed to be 5 books in this series. I don't think this series needs to be 5 books because this is a super hyped up new fantasy romance, enemies to lovers, all of that. I feel like it's getting the SJM JLA treatment and that it's being dragged out way longer than it needs to be because I don't think this series needs to be 5 books. What are we gonna do for 5 books? I feel like this can be at least a duology and maybe a trilogy if we want to just stretch it out a little bit. But I think this can be a duology at most. Like, why do we need 5 books? I don't see where this story can go with 5 books. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to read them. Like, why am I so invested in this story now? I'm giving it like 2 or 3 stars. Like, it wasn't good, but I had a good time. And I loved hating on Dane. And Xaden was so stunning. And Violet was a pretty good female protagonist. She had her good moments and also her bad moments. And the found family, love them all. So I'm feeling very conflicted right now. Can't believe I'm now invested in a series where I gave the first book 2 stars. Maybe 3 if I'm feeling generous. This has to be a joke. I was not expecting this to happen. Anyway, I feel like this vlog is already long enough as it is, so I'm just going to wrap it up here and share my final thoughts. So I honestly thought it was a really entertaining book. The plot was a little all over the place. The plot wasn't really interesting to me. I wasn't invested in the plot, and the world was like interesting, I guess, with the whole concept of the dragons and the dragon riders and the different, there's scribes, there's healers, menders, right? I loved all of that, but I just really didn't care about the plot. I was mostly here for the characters and the vibes. And it did deliver with that. I was really invested in the characters and all of their relationships and their dynamics. And I loved that the dragons had their own personalities and they were all just so funny and they were like actual characters in the book and not just, I don't want to say pets, but they were actual characters with personalities and emotions and feelings. And I loved that aspect of it. The magic and everything is really interesting too. Like, she can wield lightning, Xaden can wield shadows. Also, Dane can read minds, and he used that against Violet to find out what was happening with Xaden and his little group of friends. When Xaden was asking Violet if Dane touched her on her cheek, she was like, yeah, but he always does that. And Xaden was like, he force read your memories. I hate you so much, Dane. Is he gonna be a villain in the second book? Is he gonna be a villain in the second book? Oh my god. Does he die in the second book? That's what I want to know. I also really enjoyed the representation. Like, there was chronic pain, there were some queer characters, there was a deaf character, which I was not expecting, and I really enjoyed that. And there's also a non-binary character. And yeah, I thought the representation was really good and surprising to see in a fantasy world, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But the writing felt very cringy and corny and 2010s-ish, but in a bad way. Like I was not vibing with the writing at all. There were a lot of really good quotes here and there, but there are those cringy quotes that I shared in the vlog. Like, what are those quotes doing in a fantasy book? Like, it just feels so out of place and so disjointed and so bizarre. So hopefully the writing gets improved in the second book, because I really enjoyed the characters and just I loved the characters, and the world was really fun too. And I'm just very surprised at how much I actually enjoyed this one. The ending also did it for me, so I'm between a 2 and 3 star. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it yet, but it's between a 2 and a 3 star. Maybe a 3 star, honestly. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this vlog and seeing all of my thoughts and feelings towards Fourth Wing. I hope it was coherent. I'm not very good at like vlogging for like specific books because I can never properly articulate what is going on. If you have read Fourth Wing, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it, because there have been so many mixed reviews for this book, so I'm really interested to see what you guys thought of it, like if you loved it or hated it, because it's been very polarizing right now. But yeah, so that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!